name is Olivia Dupel, and I'm honored to be here today. I am a proud Granite Stater, but I'm also a person in long-term recovery from addiction. All right. Thank you. 5.5 years ago, I was in a pretty hopeless place in my life. But thank you to my family, my friends, and my community, I stand before you today. And I'm thankful that I've been able to maintain my sobriety over the last 5.5 years. I was lucky enough that when I reached out for help was there. Right now, our country is in the throes of a very serious addiction epidemic. In 2017, more Americans died from drug overdoses than the entire death toll of the Vietnam War. We're dealing with a very serious public health crisis, and it's an all-hands-on-deck situation. Pharmaceutical companies need to be held accountable for their role in this. Overprescribing doctors need to be held accountable for their role in this. But most importantly, any individual who reaches out for help for a substance use disorder deserves to have access to treatment, regardless of their ability to pay. Too many of our fellow Granite Staters have died waiting for treatment. It's a disgrace. The path to recovery is not something that anyone should have to walk alone. So I'm here and I support Vice President Biden because he will ensure that every American has access to quality and affordable health care. I'm here supporting Vice President Biden because he believes in the effectiveness of prevention and that this crisis needs to be dealt with all hands on deck and with a multi-pronged community approach. But most importantly, I support Vice President Biden because he restores my faith in America and gives my family hope for a better and brighter tomorrow. So it's my great pleasure and honor to introduce you now to Vice President Joe Biden.
Thank you, Olivia. Oh my goodness, all you people out there in the sun, I will try to shorten this as much as I possibly can. It's great to be back in London, Derry, to see so many people, and at the Mack family apples. I know there's no apples today, but I'll be back when there are apples. Because it gets tougher and tougher as we go along here. You're going to see more of me than you ever wanted to see us. I'm going to try to earn your support as best I can. Look, we all know this election, can you hear out there? Yeah. All right. We all know this election is different than any of us involved, whether it's your first time voting or whether you've been doing it for a long, long time. The fact is, the core values of our nation, literally the core values of our nation, our standing in the world, our very democracy, this is not hyperbole, everything we know as American is really at stake in a way that it's never been. We can deal with 4 years of Donald Trump. It's going to be hard to make up for what he's done, particularly internationally. But 8 years would fundamentally change the nature of our nation. Folks, you know, his viciousness, his bullying, his utter disregard for people's lives is, I think, literally tearing the soul of the country. And I mean that in a literal sense. It's not who we are. You know, he's praised white supremacists, he's embraced dictators and thugs around the world, poked his finger in the eyes of our friends and our allies, and he separated and ripped children from their mother's arms or their border. And now what he's doing in terms of this new effect to go and just completely dismantle families and go after, scare the living devil out of everybody is just wrong. It's not who we are. It's not who we are as a country, folks. We don't have to do any of this to be secure. You know, our children are watching. You know, the fact of the matter is, what presidents say matters. No matter who the president is, it matters. And our children are listening. What makes us think that as a school teacher, you're not going to have some child in your class say something utterly disrespectful to someone of a different ethnic background, and then say, well, the president says that, the president does that. I really mean it. It has an impact on who we are. And the president is the face of the country. Good, bad, or indifferent, the president becomes the face of America. We can overcome, as I said, 4 years, but we can't overcome 8. And we have to restore the sense of who we are, restore our values as a nation. And that's the first and most important reason why I'm running for President of the United States of America. Because I believe we have to restore the backbone of this country. By backbone, I mean, look, Wall Street didn't build America. Ordinary, decent, hardworking Americans, given half a chance, are the people who built this country. That's been the history of the journey of America. But my dad used to have an expression. He'd say, Joe, a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about your place in the community. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. We're no longer the wealthiest middle class in the world. And we have over half the people in this country thinking their children will never be at the point where they'll do as well as they did. That if they received a bill for $400 unexpected in a month, they couldn't pay it and they'd have to go out and sell something to get it done. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, how can you be a person of dignity? How can you maintain your dignity as a mother or father if in fact you look at your child as a pre-existing condition and there's nothing you can do to cover them? How can you maintain your dignity if you look at your child who has real potential to go on to school after high school and know there's not a darn thing you can do because you can't borrow the money or figure out how to get them there? How does that happen? How do you maintain your dignity when your child or a loved one is in a position where they're told they have a terminal disease and the insurance company can come along and say, time's up, suffer in peace the rest of the way? I don't know what I would have done when my son Bo came home from a year in Iraq as the Attorney General of Delaware and was diagnosed with stage 4 glioblastoma given months. If they'd come along and said, in addition to looking at my grandkids and my daughter-in-law and thinking about what it could do for them, and think, well, by the way, last 5 months, suffer your pain on your own. Folks, it matters. It matters. I remember, as I said, how I felt. I remember how my father felt. When I got to college, I remember him saying to me he couldn't borrow the money and looking at me and saying the words, I'm so ashamed. Why should he have been ashamed? I got to college. But why should he have been ashamed? He worked like the devil, and he was ashamed because he said, I'll never forget the look in his face. You know, ladies and gentlemen, and we have to start rewarding work, not just wealth. As Warren Buffett says, why in God's name should he be paying a lower tax rate than the school teacher, the firefighter, the law enforcement officer? Why is that the case? I really mean it. Think about it. We don't have to punish anybody, folks. But the fact of the matter is that there's a lot we can do. There's a $1.6 trillion in loopholes in the tax code. $1.6 trillion. When Reagan was president, it was $800 billion. As my mother would say, who died and left them boss? You know, what's happened here? We can put every single solitary kid in community college for free. 65 out of every 100 jobs in a study I did for the president require something more than a high school degree today, right now, today, to get a job. Anybody think 12 years of education is going to be enough for you to compete in the 21st century? Not possible. So what are we doing? We eliminated one loophole. That's $16 billion, $17 billion out of it, $1.6 trillion. It's called stepped up basis. It's $17 billion. I can put every single solitary kid in trade school and or community college for free. And increase the GDP by 0.2% if we did. Grows the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, when we passed the Affordable Care Act, I told the President it was a pretty big deal. Something to that effect. Folks, look, I want to stop here and say something we don't say often enough. Barack Obama was and is a man of extraordinary character, integrity, and decency. Our children, all of us, and the rest of the world could look up to, and they did. And I was very proud to serve him every single day. We were together for 8 years. I still see him. And here's the deal. When he passed the Affordable Care Act, I never was more proud in that moment. The Affordable Care Act was a huge leap. 7 presidents have talked about trying to do it before. He got it done. He got it done. And maybe what people kind of forget, he gave insurance for the first time to over 20 million people who never recovered. Gave them peace of mind. We lived in a nice neighborhood. We lived in a 3-bedroom house in a suburban development with 4 kids and a grandpa. And I remember I could hear sometimes my dad being restless. I asked Mom one night, "What's the matter?" She said, "He changed jobs, honey. We don't have any insurance." And your dad lays awake at night wondering. The biggest thing it did was give people some peace of mind. It covered 100 million people in America with pre-existing conditions. It was gigantic. And we have to finish the job now. While Donald Trump is quietly trying to undo it all in court, declare it unconstitutional, eliminate it completely, it should be a right and not a privilege. I'm against, I want to be clear with you, I have differences with my opponents. If 300 people were running for office, no. There were 20, and there are a lot of really good people and qualified people. But I have a fundamental disagreement with them on scrapping Obamacare. I think we should build on it. We should provide a public option for anybody who wants to. Medicaid will automatically be covered. So folks, I'm against anybody who wants to do away with it and start over. You're going to have a gap. And all of you, how many of you lost someone to cancer or a disease? You know there's no time, man. It's a matter of days, minutes, hours. And we can't afford any break in any of this kind of coverage, in my opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, as we speak, Donald Trump is trying to get the Congress to totally do away with Obamacare, take it out of existence completely. Trump doesn't understand that repealing Obamacare and the Medicaid expansion is one of the worst things he can do to deal with the opioid crisis and the drug crisis. Maybe he understands it, but if he does, he is dead wrong, I think morally wrong. If he in fact doesn't, it's evidence how much he doesn't know. You know, but it would mean the loss of services and treatment for thousands of people caught in the grip of addiction. We should be doing more. You know, we talk a lot about criminal justice. When I wrote that law, I set up drug courts. Everyone who in fact has an addiction should be going into a drug court and into treatment. We should not be building more prisons, we should be building more treatment centers. The public at large. Everybody benefits. Now look, folks, let me ask you a question. Anybody in this room think 12 years of education is enough to get through, as I said? Well, the point is that the report I did for the president pointed out that 65 out of 100 jobs right now would need covered. But the fact is, what my dad used to have another expression, don't tell me what you, so someone come to my dad and said, let me tell you what I value, Joe. He said, don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget. I'll tell you what you value. The Republican Congress, your governor and others, has gone out of the way to cut coverage for education, cut coverage for health care, back it all up to where it was when it was really much, much worse. And ladies and gentlemen, you know, the last thing I want to mention, and it seems appropriate today, that we should talk about global warming. Folks, it's an existential threat. Everything else pales in comparison. I introduced the first, that you can go on what they call PolitiFacts, these guys that fact check you. I introduced the first significant global warming bill back in the mid-'80s, and it began to change because it was obvious to me at the time, and many of you, that we can't keep on this track. The fact of the matter is that right now, anybody who is opposed to climate change should understand that the seas are rising. The UN suggests that we have 11 years left before it's irreversible what's happening to the planet. And there's things within our wheelhouse that we can do to change it. We can begin to change it now. For example, just give you one little example, by 2030 we could have over 550,000 charging stations in the United States of America on every highway. Go to the big cities. You have everybody says that's crazy. Look at all the scooters that are out there, electric powered, right? Charging stations all over. We can do it working with governors and mayors and county executives and the rest. It would fundamentally change the environment just in terms of auto emissions and consumption of fossil fuel. So many other things we could talk about. I'm not going to keep you the sun talking about it, but here's the deal. The fact is that the first thing I would do as President of the United States is I would immediately rejoin the Paris Climate Accord. When we did that, we wrote into a provision that every 2 years you have to up its ante. You have to raise the standards. They're not being raised now. 190-some nations belong to it. We're the only nation that can lead the world to get it done. Ladies and gentlemen, if we do every single thing right, which is going to be hard to do, and we can do and create 10 million jobs in doing it here in the United States, we make up only 15% of the problem. 85% of the problem is the rest of the world. We can do everything perfect, and not a single emission that affects the ozone layer. And there's still 85% of the world that has to be dealt with. And folks, we are shredding our relationships with the rest of the world. I know virtually every one of the major world leaders. That's been my job as Vice President, before that as the Chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. That would I make it my sole object to begin with, to make sure we brought everybody along, because we don't have much time. And you need to put these alliances back together again, or we're in serious trouble. The third reason, in the interest of time, I'll get to it very well, is we need to unify the nation. I find it fascinating that people say, well, it can't be done. Well, let me tell you, if it can't be done, we're done. We're in real trouble. This vicious, ugly, mean political environment we live in is one that the Constitution was not designed to deal with. It requires a balance of power. 3 equal branches of government. And ladies and gentlemen, unless we start talking, we're not going to get anything done. And the fact of the matter is, those folks, everybody says, well, you can't work with these guys and women. Well, at the end of the last administration, I was able to put together a bipartisan coalition and put almost $9 billion into cancer research after he was elected, before we got here's the deal. There's things you can't do. There's things you can't get people to come around, because this is not your father's Republican Party, as the old saying goes. It's a different deal. It's a different deal. So what we have to do there, we have to go out and beat them. And here's how you do that. Look what we did in 2018. I went into, I think, more states to campaign for Democrats than anyone in our party. I went into 24 states to campaign for 69 candidates. When we elected, we beat 41 incumbent Republicans. We beat them on the merits. We went into their areas and said, you want to get rid of Obamacare? Let me tell you, we're for it. Here's what he's trying to do to you. He's going to do the following. And we won. We won in Alabama. We won in Montana. We won in a lot of red states. We won in Pennsylvania. We won all across America. Ladies and gentlemen, part of being president is being able to persuade. And the American people have had enough. Everybody knows who Donald Trump is. Even those who vote for him know who he is. They have no illusions about who he is. They may vote for him because of the inordinate tax breaks they get if they're very wealthy. They may vote for him because they hate immigrants. They may vote for him for a number of reasons he's used to split the country. But they have no illusions about this man's character. They have no illusions about what he stands for. And ladies and gentlemen, there's a whole new generation, the reason I'm optimistic. This generation between ages 18 and 25, if they voted the same percentage that everyone else did last time, it would have been 5.4 million additional votes. They can own it. They are the best educated, they are the least prejudiced, and they're the most engaged. And in 2018, you saw how engaged they became. So folks, let me conclude by saying this. Everybody knows, as I said, who Trump is. We got to let them know who we are. Who we are. We choose hope over fear. We choose unity over division. We choose science over fiction. And I promise you, we're going to choose truth over lies. We can do this. Ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together. God love you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you.